back to the
Falcon.
and Winter Snowman.
All right. Sorry, the
After
Black Falcon and White Panther.
Black Falcon and White Panther
After
show. I am Han. This is Chris. We're here every week to talk about the Marvel television series
On
and
Disney Plus.
on Disney Plus. And we're happy you could join us today if you are new or if you are a reoccurring member. Welcome. And if you are watching live, please let us know if our mics are working, because
we're trying something
if
new.
you haven't noticed, there's no mic in front of us
Super weird.
because just got a donation earlier this week, and we have these lav mics now. So they should be picking up okay. Just let us know if there's an issue on your end. So that's pretty cool. So thank you, Barcata Music, for donating some mics.
Hello.
Hello, Max and Josh.
What's up?
Our duo to this duo here every week to talk about Marvel. So glad you could join us. I wanted to make a quick PSA for everyone out there who watches the show regularly. I'm sorry that the podcast has not uploaded the episode for Star Wars this week. I have had a very busy week. I apologize. So if you are listening to this episode on Friday, 2 episodes come out this week on this day. You got the Star Wars one and the Marvel one, so go check that out. A bunch of great topics of conversation. But yeah, I didn't even do Star Wars Replay this week. I've been really busy. Most of you know I'm shooting a short film. We shoot tomorrow, and then it will be done, and I can get back to working on the podcast like normal. So look forward to that. But yes, we're here to talk about episode 2. Spoiler review if you haven't heard it. And we might talk about some other stuff as well, because there was some more Marvel news. There was some, trailers that dropped. Just we're going to kind of talk about everything. But like we do every week in the comment section, tell us what your initial thoughts were, and we will share ours. And Chris, go ahead.
All right. So this was an episode that did not go how I was expecting to go at all. It was very completely different to what I was imagining. Thankfully, we do have the Falcon and Winter Soldier together now. So that makes me happy.
Finally.
I know. I mean, it's the second episode, but at the same time, that's the show. So it's kind of funny to have them until later come together. And I know they're having a lot of issues right now, and I do also enjoy the comedy aspect of the therapist being terrible at her job and them just being super sarcastic and salty toward each other. But there was a lot of stuff revealed here in this episode that I'm kind of whoa, I didn't expect this to come in now. Or oh my god. So we start with a cold open of John Walker. John Walker, right? Yes. Sorry, it just get confused because all his names are drinks and I don't drink, so I'm Mr. Bourbon here. I don't know. So yeah, he's getting ready and he's kind of oh, should I really do this? I don't know if I'm ready. I'm dude, you already chose to do this. It's not you care about doing it correctly or anything. You knew this wasn't right. But of course, they gave him his own Bucky friend sidekick as well, and all that.
Was it interesting that it was also an African American, just Falcon and Cap?
I think in the comics it's also like that.
It's the same in the comics too.
Yeah, his U.S. agent when Captain America has his sidekick as well. I forget if it's the same guy or not. I didn't look that up before starting this, which I'm so sorry about. Normally I double check before starting, but today's just been very hectic and just other stuff too. But yeah, I thought it's very interesting how there's that parallel too, but it's the opposite, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because Falcon would be Cap and have Winter Soldier, and then the other one's is Bucky technically.
Yeah.
But then, they're just oh yeah, we're gonna go help you guys out. And also we hacked into Red Wing. No big deal, right? They just gloss over everything. And I'm no, you can't do that. Don't do that. But then they're oh, why aren't you happy? We're trying to help you. And, they also got their asses kicked by Enfys Nest. So, what can you really do? Also, yeah, that was really weird how we were wait, isn't that the girl from Solo?
Yeah, so that was, as soon as she, appeared, I was oh, it's
I'm glad
it's
she's getting
the
more
Solo
work.
girl. But I wasn't completely confident in that. And then, it wasn't until she started talking, it's okay, yeah, that is her. And yeah, I haven't seen her in anything
It's
except
thankfully
Solo.
that Disney contract is still working, so.
Yeah, I know. I like how Disney, keeps working with the same people over and over. So
especially if they're new or they're hey, here's more jobs.
Yeah, Mina Masood. And So my initial thoughts were, um, I still like the show.
Mm.
This one felt a little bit more. I remember what I was going to tell you earlier when I said I was trying to think of how to put this show. Is it felt very independent as far as the production went, and I don't mean that in like a bad way. I mean that in like a way where it felt a little bit more intimate with the production crew. You could see like they don't have the liberty of all these big fancy tools and like 100 people and all this time, so you have to get more creative with it. And some of the shots,
It did seem.
a lot of these shots, unlike any other Captain America movie, are continuous shots. Just like that wide shot with the new Captain America driving in the car past Bucky and Sam as they're walking on the street. And it was just a very long, continuous shot. Probably done for comedic effect.
Right,
but
to like drag it out.
It also takes a lot less time to shoot that. And I saw that reoccur a couple other times. So it had a very indie vibe to it as far as the production was. The everything else about it, I do still enjoy the show. I do think the writing was very weak in this episode. I feel like the humor was a little forced.
A little.
My biggest complaint, really the only complaint I have, like actual complaint about this episode, is I felt like the character of Sam was completely rewritten. Similar to how, now it could be a good thing going forward, but like similar to how Chris Hemsworth's Thor is not the same Thor from 1 and 2 to Ragnarok.
Which it was a great change for that. Yeah.
But with that, we got to spend an hour and a half, a full arc with him to realize this is the way this character should go. With this one, Sam was a little bit more playful. It felt more like Anthony Mackie than it did Sam Wilson. And that's what we talked about last week, why I love Anthony Mackie as an actor, is because he is completely different.
Right.
But he's never really said jokes before. He's always been playful with Bucky.
He's sarcastic. Yeah. But like here he do seem, because I feel like it's the combination of him with Bucky, who's like deadpan, and Sam with Cap, who's like still like very like goody two shoes. Like he's still like the one who's like, hey, like dude, like but like still sort of like very professional and like more like a place of like almost like, oh yes sir, like more professional, if that makes any sense. Yeah. And here, because Bucky is just like, you got a staring problem, like that whole staring problem thing. I'm just like, I thought of the oh, he's just a baby, he's just scared. He's like with the little cats like on TikTok. I was like,
but it could also be because up until this point, these characters are secondary characters. We don't really know them.
Right.
So maybe this is how they act, and the only side of them we've seen is how they interact with Steve Rogers.
Right.
Bucky's way more friendly with Steve than he is
right.
anyone else in the world.
Right.
Except the old man. And Sam is a little bit more serious with Cap, probably due to his
like respect.
Tremendous respect for him. And then maybe with everyone else, he's a little bit more like himself.
Easygoing, yeah.
Yeah, because Cap is kind of his boss. I mean, he brought him into the Avengers.
Right.
And everything. So now we're getting to see the real side of these characters. But that's my initial thoughts of the show. I loved the cliffhanger with Zemo. I loved introducing a new super soldier that was around in like the 40s that no one ever knew about. Could be interesting, but it's like we keep revisiting that, almost retconning with this franchise, because in Civil War they said that those 6 Winter Soldiers were the only ones that were left, and then they killed them all there, and then they said something like, "There's no more of your kind. You're the last." And now they're going back and being like, "Well, there's this one more guy."
But like at the same time, was he a Winter Soldier though? Because they're like, "Oh, he's a super soldier."
He wasn't a Winter Soldier.
Right. So it's not a Winter Soldier. He was America.
He got Cap's serum.
Yeah.
And Hydra tested on him to try and
get
make him. Yeah. And
I did feel like it would be good, like cool to have like a little bit more like build up, or be like, hey, like we don't know what more there is out there or something like that, and then be like, oh yeah, there was another guy just like kind of got scrubbed for any like outlets or any notoriety or anything. And then Bucky says, oh, it was because he's gone through enough, which I totally get. But at the same time, it's like, you're kind of erasing, like, all he did, too. And all he went through, you're just deleting it.
Yeah.
Like, it is also a little bit invalidating.
Yeah. And, but I am looking forward to it. The saddest part is we're third way through this show. It's literally almost over.
No.
And I didn't say really much positive things. I love Sebastian Stan. He's, well, currently Sam Wilson's still my favorite of this show, but Sebastian Stan, I really love him as an actor, and especially the Bucky character.
Yeah.
And just the way he was watching that new Cap on television.
Oh,
was
that
like,
broke my heart.
Yeah,
He's just like pissed off, but he's like sad.
Yeah, and you could really feel it, and that was a great scene.
Right, because he didn't say like a word. He didn't even move. He's just like they're like agonizing in a way. Like I'm just like.
I know.
Oh,
That's another great example of how this smaller production makes them look a lot bigger and adapt to more constraints. Is the way that opening scene was shot. And how it transitioned into that Bucky watching the TV scene was very well done.
Yeah.
And I loved that. So,
I also love how they took like the whole thing from the first Avenger, where like they're like the Star Spangled Man with a plan, and how they named this episode that. And the first, like the cold open was pretty much like a modern version of the presentations that Cap went through.
Yeah.
They're just pretty much redoing it and being like, oh, he's back. It's like, no, it's a different dude. Like, don't say he's back. Like, that's what kind of hurt me, too, because they're trying to replay history in a way.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just repeat it the same way. Like, it's not the same. And they're like, oh, but he's done all of this, and he went and threw himself on a grenade. I'm like, he probably did that because he wanted to be Captain America, not because he actually wanted to save people because he thought they were going to die.
Yeah, and, like, when it opened with John Walker, I think my audible reaction was like, what did I say? Something like, oh, we gotta learn about this guy.
Right, we're like,
Because I'm sure we're not alone when we say, like, when he came out in episode 1 as the new Captain America, we all kind of hated him a little bit. Yeah.
Which is the point. So we're supposed to, I think. And that's why it kind of feels weird that he's like trying to be so friendly with them. I'm just like, does not feel right. And he's like, oh yeah, I kind of hacked you guys' location, but like, don't be mad. It's just we're just trying to help. I mean, this is government property, and like, and then he has like, he got Bucky out of therapy and like all this stuff. I'm like, you're doing more harm than good, buddy. Like, don't interfere and like just do what's right and give the shield back. Like.
Yeah, kind of overpressuring too. He kind of guilts them, like, hey, I'll get you out of therapy, but you got to come work for me. So it's like when a stepdad trying to overstep the boundaries, you know, like trying to fill those shoes. He's never going to.
He's like, I'm not gonna fill those shoes. And it definitely felt like that, but like trying really hard is like, it's like I'm not trying to fill, but I'll be your boss though. And I was like, well,
right. So let's take a look at what these guys are saying for their reactions. So Max says, I liked episode 2 a little bit more than episode 1, but to be honest, I don't really like the Flag Smashers, and I think it's a little bit too much humor. So that was one of my complaints too, is the humor.
Which can be good. The thing is, in this episode it was kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't think there was too much maybe, but just maybe it didn't match these characters.
Like the situation felt like a weird way.
Yeah.
I get it to like use humor to like diffuse a situation, but for this episode it kind of just felt like, yeah, let's just throw some humor in there. Is this a little bit too like dark or depressing, or like a little bit too weird? Let's break it off with a joke to like make it less awkward. I'm like,
yeah,
not the time, not the right timing. Because last episode the timing was pretty good, and it was like more purposefully used, the humor, I think.
Yeah.
It was less, but it doesn't mean like more is bad. It just means how to use it.
Yeah. Do you want to read Josh's?
Oh, yes. I very much enjoyed Sam and Bucky's dynamic in this episode. I can tell the plot is going to progress much more quickly than WandaVision, for sure. Definitely. This is already picking up. We're already figuring out, like, we're already introducing Baron Zemo. When they mentioned Baron Zemo, and they looked at each other before saying, like, yeah, let's go talk to him. I'm like, the episode's gonna end now, isn't it? And then it just had the credits. I'm like, I knew it!
That's the worst part about watching Marvel television, regardless of if it's good or if it's bad, don't. You're watching it and you're like, is it gonna end soon? Is it gonna end the next scene? Is it gonna
It's
end
like,
this
especially
scene?
when it gets like real tense. It's like.
Yeah, and then sometimes there's a tense scene and you're like, oh, it's gonna end, and it keeps going and you're like, yes, and then it catches you off guard. So it's like that's something we have to get used to, like with Marvel, because I mean that's also another thing why I think I'm struggling with adjusting to the quality of its television programming, because we're so used to $200 million movies with unlimited resources from Disney, and they still have all those creative people and resources. It's just so much more time-based, and it shows because of that, and especially these two because of the pandemic. So it's not really their fault.
Yeah.
They were both shooting at the same exact time.
Was this during the pandemic? Because at the same time when they're stealing all these vaccines, I'm like,
Yeah, that was interesting. But no, Falcon and Winter Soldier they were still shooting in December.
Oh.
They were finishing up, and I think it was reshoots, but like they really were filming all of 2020.
That's crazy.
So they were really trying to push
also
this.
Kind of makes sense for like how some scenes were more like just the couple characters like by themselves and stuff like that. Very like at a distance, and if they are, it's just like, oh, they're on the road. Oh, they're like at an event thing. Oh, they're in this group. The only big thing was like the football stadium thing.
Yeah.
And at the same time, they could have like put people in the background or move them around.
Yeah, very much. Max says, as she appeared, I definitely thought about Enfys Nest from Solo.
Yes.
Definitely.
I like the buddy cop side, comedy of it. Comedy side of it, yes. It's very that, like very like odd couple, like cracking down on these things kind of thing.
That was the funniest part for me, was when they were forced to like get like right in between each other's legs.
Yeah.
I thought that was so funny. I mean, and then
Sam
was
really
like,
good.
What? This is where you want me? You want me here? I'm here. Come on, come get it. Or
right,
something
or it's like,
that.
oh, which one should we like? Should you go in the thing? And then they just like cross their legs together because they're like, do you want to go out? Do you want to go in?
It was so funny.
And they're like looking at each other, like, yeah, we're doing it. What do you want? And just, it was really funny. I was just like, I.
But then the lady comes in and she's like, are you having a staring contest? Like, were you not going to instruct them on what to do? You just put them in that position? Like,
right. I mean, she was being like, oh, you have to like talk to each other. But I'm like, yeah, but you have to like walk them through it because they're just going to quarrel. She's
the worst therapist I've ever seen.
Right. I feel like it's on purpose that she's so bad, but at the same time, I'm like,
you
want Bucky to get better,
Mephisto.
Right? Oh my god.
It's Mephisto.
We had to have a Mephisto theory right in there. Here we go. I think we are just seeing more of the characters than before, which seems different. Oh my god. It's Mephisto.
It's Mephisto. Okay, sorry, go ahead. Is that Josh?
Yes, that was Josh. So yeah, definitely. I mean, getting to know them more closely and who they are like by themselves and with other people. So definitely think that this is just a different side to Falcon, not him just like completely switching character. It just, he is indulging his sarcastic side a little bit even more, like just being like, oh, you're White Panther? Ha ha ha. Sorry, I wanted to go like on the side note for those comments when it's like, oh my god, you're the Black Falcon. And he's like, I'm just the Falcon. Are you saying that because I'm black?
What are you, black kid?
And he's like, you're right. He called him out. That was so funny. But then he's the one who's like, oh, you're the White Panther. He's like, actually, it's White Wolf. And he's like...
Another great reason why having a African-American showrunner is because we get a different perspective on Marvel characters. Like the scene with the cops confronting them in the street.
Oh my god,
and they were
yeah.
only worried about Sam because he's black.
Yeah, and they were like trying to like really push him and be like, oh, what's your ID? Blah, blah, blah. You're trying to like resist him. Like, he's like, no. Like, and Bucky had to be like, don't you know who that is? And just when they find out it's Sam, they're like, oh, sorry, didn't see you without the goggles. I'm so sorry. I'm just like, you're out here like fully antagonizing him just purely based on race.
It was so so realistic. And again, what I said last week is this show is what I think the main theme is just how we treat soldiers who have completed tours or are retired and finished their work, and how America just completely doesn't care about them after they do their service. And especially in this situation, for the African American community, because of the way he was treated until they found out, oh, he's a soldier. Okay, yeah, he's good, whatever. But like, didn't even worry about Bucky when he was the one with the warrant.
Right.
And it was.
And like, is he bothering you? I'm like, no, he's trying to tell you that he didn't do anything wrong. Also, he didn't have his ID either. But they were just like pestering on Sam and like pushing him forward. I'm like.
And I wish I had. That's a scary situation, but I wish I had the perspective from someone else who would watch that scene, because it's probably even more scary for someone of that demographic
lived,
to
or be in more risk for that experience. Yeah,
and to know like, oh, even if I'm Falcon, like someone in this universe, even if I'm the Falcon, I still gotta be afraid of the cops. Yeah, and it's just so relatable. And then so there's that, and then the other thing with the ex-soldier who was forgotten by his country. Another reason why showing America's like, disvalue of our own troops and stuff like that.
He was even like scrubbed from everything, so nobody even knows what he did.
Yeah.
He just seems like someone with like anger issues.
Right.
When he's just struggling with what the war gave him, like this extra strength with these like PTSD moments, like all of this, like it can really put a toll on you.
Yeah.
And you can tell that he's been suffering through it, and he finally kind of like left it behind, and then he gets this reminder, even though they're just looking for help. Speaking of, I just figured out that the kid who lives with Isaiah, the ex-super soldier, is possibly Eli, the young Avenger who turns into Patriot. So, Young Avengers! Young Avengers! They're coming! I'm so excited!
I got a fun story about Young Avengers. It's kind of like scoopish, and it hasn't been reported yet, but I know someone who is friends with someone involved. If you guys want to know, just say it in the chat. Say you would like to know the scoop on Young Avengers. I'll share it. It's no spoilers, but it's a very interesting real scoop, so I can share that. Anyway, moving on. Max says, I'm happy with the
we finally
saw Zemo at the end of this episode, but I hope he will be a villain. But I didn't really like him in Civil War.
Yeah.
Dude, nobody liked him in Civil War. He was a jerk.
I will say, I do love the actor. I just hate Baron Zemo. I'm just like, why?
Yeah, good actor.
He's so good.
But Baron is a piece of
garbage. He's yeah. But yeah, I'm excited to have him be like more like reluctant, kind of like. Obviously not to like charisma level or anything, kind of like was it in Thor 2 or something where like Loki's in the cell and they're like trying to like like be like, hey, can you like help us? And he's like, whatever, and like kind of like that, but like more of an asshole.
It's the classic sequel story where you go to the villain from the first movie so that they can help you get the second one. It's a classic
22 Jump Street.
It's 22 Jump Street. It's Thor 2.
Yes.
It's that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. I can't think of what it is. Terminator 2, and another one too. But it's classic storytelling.
Yeah,
so I
see what you can do to like think like the enemy kind of thing and get information.
So I don't think he will be the main villain, but I believe he will work with them, get to a certain point, and then put Sam and Bucky in like they'll end the Flag Smashers, but Bucky and Sam will be like trapped in like a cell or something, and then he will escape and go off free, and then that'll be the cliffhanger of the show, and it's Mephisto.
Oh my god. Or he can like secretly just be like, hey, Flag Smashers, I got power or whatever.
Yes.
Like, I don't know.
And Mr. Anderson makes a great point. Considering all the restrictions, I think they definitely made the most of what they had to work with.
Yes.
100%. It's
definitely.
I know I'm more of a critic than I am a proper reviewer, because I mostly just talk about the bad things that I think about, but yeah, they're doing a great job. It's
that's
fantastic.
why we have me here, so I can just be like extra positive.
That's why we balance each other out. So it's good.
Well, you're positive about some things too. You like things and you think about what could be better, which could be like another form of
from
optimism.
a certain point of view.
Yeah. Don't be so negative about yourself.
Thank you. Before we go on to anything else, I want to talk about the other news in Marvel that has like come out. So I'll say the Captain Marvel thing. You could do the other one.
Which one?
The one you found out about I forget. Maybe
Oh, the recasting? Yeah, that's old news. I just hadn't connected the dots.
Oh, okay. Well, Captain Marvel was just confirmed today to be shooting in May, which means we'll be getting the movie in 2022.
Woo!
Possibly, I'm gonna go ahead and like speculate November, because isn't that when the other one came out?
Wasn't it the summer? Wasn't it like June?
Maybe it was the summer. But I found it interesting because Captain Marvel and Black Panther are like the dynamic duo. It looks like they're going to be on a similar release schedule. Every sequel comes out. March. Okay.
Oh yeah, they had the anniversary like a couple weeks ago.
Okay. And both Black Panther, but more specifically Captain Marvel, has a huge task to do. And that is the first movie made over $1 billion, which is amazing. Being the first female Marvel movie.
Yes.
And now, going into the second one, do you think it'll make more money the second time around?
I hope so. I think it's going to be... It depends on a couple factors. I think... I was going to say it was going to be affected by the people who are like, oh, Captain Marvel sucks, or like, it's just an agenda, blah, blah, blah. Like, all those people who think, like, oh, it's anti-men just because it's a woman and it's ridiculous. And, like, who hate Brie Larson because they have no better things to do. But they did that for the first one, and the movie still did great. So I don't think it's going to be any issue. And you have the added-on part of Monica Rambeau coming off from WandaVision. So that brings people from WandaVision to try to see her fully become her superhero counterpart.
Yeah,
so,
she was officially announced.
Yes.
To be in it, so.
And oh my god, I forget who was it the lady from Velvet Buzzsaw who's going to be the villain?
Oh yeah.
Or something.
I forget her name, but she'll be in it too.
Yeah, and then you have Kamala Khan, which I mean, I feel like some people are also going to find an issue with that too, but it's also going to bring a lot of people in. So hopefully more in than out. So I think it probably should do better, I'm hoping. I do think that Monica Rambeau will bring more people in as well, aside from the people who are already in. What do you think?
Well, I was going to ask when do you think it will take place, but considering Monica's going to be in it, it's probably after WandaVision.
Oh, yes.
I think it'll be successful. Whether it'll cross $1 billion, I don't know. And I only am hesitant because movie theaters are in big trouble right now.
True, like it has to be like
even next year. It's
recovery from everything that's happened.
Yeah, standards for like what is box office success material is going to have to diminish.
Yeah.
So what was once $1 billion was a really successful Marvel film average, they're probably gonna have to drop that by $300 million. So also considering the budget, which is probably high budget, $175 million for Captain Marvel. Maybe like $700 million would be considered the equivalent of a success, which I think it can do in its sleep.
Oh, so. Definitely, yeah.
Also with Monica going to be in it,
yeah.
She's really popular because of WandaVision, so that'll be cool too.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it should do okay.
Yeah. And then it's kind of off-brand, but, Suicide trailer dropped.
Yes!
And looks way better than the first one.
I'm so excited. Finally, they get it right, I think. James Gunn is literally just making Guardians of the DC Earth Suicide Galaxy, which I am not mad at all. We have a humongous cast. We get more Harley. We have John Cena.
Oh my god, the penis comment was so
funny. Oh my god! The thing is, that's totally on brand for him too. Because I saw him in Blockers, and that's basically his character. Yeah.
So funny.
It's so
It looks
funny.
Fun. It looks like a fun movie.
Definitely.
Like
and
carefree, just...
and I knew it was going to be a red band and an R movie, but I was not ready for King Shark to rip people apart and eat a human whole.
I'm glad we get to see that.
Right?
I was probably most looking forward to King Shark. Is that what he's called?
I think.
King Shark?
It was I think it's King Shark. That's what I called him, so I don't know.
Because as a kid, one of my favorite toys to carry around was this toy called Shark Attack. And if any of you know what I'm talking about, it's this really cool series of characters that was from the 90s, really old. And that was one of my favorite characters, and it looks like King Shark.
Oh.
So That'll be pretty cool.
King
okay.
Shark. Sorry.
King
Yeah,
Shark.
it's King Shark. But I'm also really excited to see the super creepy looking weasel. Sean Gunn is really good at making like really creepy, weird characters that are so awkward. So that seems like super up his alley. Peter Capaldi's in it with like the little like COVID vaccines on his head. I'm kidding. I mean, everyone's in it. Idris Elba's in it. Pete Davidson for some reason's in it. Like, everyone's in this movie. I'm in. Not in the movie, I wish. But I'm in.
Josh, just tell us the scoop. Okay, so it's nothing too crazy, but...
it's more like what could have been, right?
What could have been. What was going to happen was... so one of my friends who I'm working on my short film with, we were chatting about some of like the people we've worked with and other projects we've done, and he actually worked with Ty Simpkins, I think is his name, and Ty is the actor who played the kid in Iron Man 3, and the one who showed up as a teenager at the end of Endgame at Tony's funeral. So they're really good friends. They just filmed a movie together, which comes out later this year, and he was telling me that the only reason Ty was able to do their movie was because his contract with Marvel changed. He was originally scheduled to be Iron Lad, and he was supposed to take up the mantle of Iron Man and become the new Iron Man, just as a teenager. And
wasn't he even gonna get the glasses and whatnot?
Yeah, so imagine instead of Peter Parker getting the glasses, it was actually going to go to this kid, and he would have all that tech available to him, and he would become the new Iron Man. But Marvel decided to switch gears, and they decided to make it Iron Maiden.
Iron Heart.
Iron Maiden.
Iron Maiden.
They decided to make
That'd
it
be
Iron
so
Heart.
funny.
And so instead of it being Ty, they switched it to somebody else, and I was just like, oh my god. He must have been so sad because he was told he would be Iron Lad, and just to have it switched on you, I mean,
right.
I'm sure they have a good reason why they're doing that, but anyway, that itself is proof that they are building up to Young Avengers, which they haven't said yet. And I know someone in the chat just said that yes, they're building up to it. So yes, they are. 2024 will be Young Avengers. Okay, that's what you think. So. Yeah, possibly they're building it right now, and that's what could have been. That's what was going to happen. Was Ty was going to be the new Iron Man, but now it'll be something different. So let us know your thoughts on that. Max says I don't like Captain Marvel. I don't think Captain Marvel 2
hasn't come out.
will make more money than Captain Marvel 1 because the first one came out a little over a month before Endgame. That is true. Captain Marvel is a very important piece at that after credits scene of Infinity War, and so that's a good way to put it. But they might do the same thing again, and have like little connecting pieces at the end credits. So
yeah, I mean they love doing that, and basically to have you go see the rest of the movies too, and be like, hey, you want to know what's gonna happen? Go watch the other movie.
I just want to see Snoop, Chewie. What's his name? The cat.
The cat.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
What's the cat's name? Oh my god. If you guys know, let us know in the chat.
I feel like I'm betraying my brand by forgetting the cat's name.
It was Chewie in the comics.
Yes. Goose!
Goose. There we go. Top Gun. Okay. I just want to see Goose back.
I'm just like typing it out. I'm like, wait. Chewie. Goose.
It's a chili goose. I just want to see Goose.
Right?
I hope he's still alive at that point.
I mean, he's a flirkin.
He is a flirkin.
So I think he's fine.
And of course, Samuel L. Jackson.
Yes, of course.
I want to see the flirkin and Samuel L. Jackson.
I still think about how it's so funny how he never will comment on how he lost his eye or how it got like damaged, and then he's like, oh, it makes it seem like it was like a huge battle, something super traumatic, and it's just like, kitty, space kitty. It's so cute.
Well, do you want to wrap up and say anything else about Falcon and Winter Boy before we hop out of here?
Falcon Man and Winter Boy.
I forgot to mention the first episode of Falcon Winter Soldier is the
highest watch, right?
highest watched or most watched show on
In the
Disney
time
Plus
period.
and streaming in general
Whoa.
for a premiere. They've had the most views out of. Now I don't know if that is considering Snyder Cut or not because.
I mean, they would be different categories, right?
Yeah, I'm just talking about like everything in general. Disney reported that it was the highest watched for a premiere, like 24-hour period, than anything else, and that was kind of shocking to me, honestly.
I think I saw something about that because some people were like arguing whether or not it was the Snyder Cut or Falcon and Winter Soldier, and I think it's just because some people were taking like the 3-day versus the 4-day in the premiere itself, and I think overall it had been Falcon and Winter Soldier because the Snyder Cut had been out like a day earlier or something.
Yeah, it was the day before.
So they had extra time.
Yeah.
So if you took it like from both of them, like with the time that they had been out, Falcon outperformed the Snyder Cut. Please don't kill me, everyone. But I think it just has to do with like you have to take into consideration by the time period how many people watched.
Yeah.
Right. That makes a whole difference because of course, like you can say like. Now Avatar made more money than Endgame, but like at the time, like it wasn't really like that. Like it had to take that into consideration.
Nonetheless, a huge achievement for Disney and
yeah.
Marvel, and it'll be interesting to see how the numbers turn out at the end of this series. So, yeah, can't wait for next week.
Yes.
Do you have anything else to say on it?
I'm just really excited to see what happens with like Baron Zemo. I want them to take the shields back, maybe just be like, hey, you can be U.S. agents, just do your own thing, bro. Like, don't try to tarnish like Steve's name. And I don't know, I want them to be friends and go around kicking ass, taking names. Smash the flag smashers, and you smash that subscribe and like button, and smash that comment, please.
Share with your friends. And next week's episode might be a little delayed.
Right.
I'll be out of town, but if you guys want. If you want like a standalone episode of just Chris hosting,
how would that even work? Should I just break into your apartment? Well, I can technically.
Let us know if you guys like to see that. Maybe we can work something out. Maybe just a Chris show. Might
be so awkward though. Would people really want that? I feel
well,
like they come here because Han talks first. Not Chris talks only.
But yes, back on Monday with the Star Wars show, and thank you guys so much for watching today, especially you, Max, and Josh in the chat so much. We will hopefully see you guys next week too. I hope you have a great weekend, and we could do this all day. But
I'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.
Bye.